Hey YouTube, today's teardown video is going to be about the automatic external defibrillator pad pack. This is for the Heartsine SAM350P defibrillator that you saw in a previous video where we put a char mark on the bench and managed to trick this thing into discharging. Either way, I've gotten a replacement pad pack for the expired one. We're going to tear into that and see how it's built, see if we can learn any tricks from it, or if it's very similar to other pad packs. In the interests of not starting fires, I have a coffee tin ready to yeet this thing outside the house in case something goes terribly wrong. I've, for the most part, minimized the flammable materials. Granted, this is on an IKEA lac table, so relatively. This is going to feature some more brute force methods, though we're not going to start with a Dremel because that may actually cut too deep, whereas this I get a little bit more tactile feedback. Now, I suspect that, like many other defibrillator battery packs, these use CR123 lithium primary cells. These are non-rechargeable, relatively speaking, high current batteries that store for a very long time and otherwise provide, good power. The pack itself, I'm going to tear into it now, is expired. This is the only expirable component of that defibrillator. The defibrillator itself doesn't expire. On the pack itself, you've got some gold contacts, one of which has a slight char mark on it as a result of overcurrent discharge, maybe? Just for some completely unrelated reasons. Some in-molded plastic clips that snap into the unit itself, some tracing and tracking barcodes, and a expiry date sticker on it. When mounted itself, you use this pull tab to release the pads themselves. I think it's been about 3 to 4 months since, so I'm curious whether these still have any stickiness. These hydrogels actually still do have some adhesion, and they still smell just as awful. You can see the small hole that was burnt into the pads as a result of the, shall we say, lively discharge. Either way, the foil packaging itself is just glued in with some pressure-sensitive adhesive. You can tear this off, and there's really nothing spectacular under here. It's literally just glued in. This pouch is heat-sealed at the factory, so these pads aren't exposed to potentially cause any bacterial growth, etc. The wires themselves feel like they're silicone. There's a healthy amount of wire provided, and then they just terminate with a little bit of hot glue here. We don't need those, so we're just going to dike them off now. And those, I did do continuity checks before. These do just terminate at these two terminals here. These are the batteries, these are the terminals for the pads. This is garbage at this point. We've already taken a look at these pads before. Nothing spectacular, so go ahead and chuck these. And on the lid itself, this little rubber pull tab, I'm actually going to save that because these are useful. You can get fancy Hypalon pull tabs for zipper pulls, but this is free. I'll save it for a backpack or something, but that's garbage too. Alright, on the pack itself we've got, I guess this portion here is all superfluous and non-battery related, so we can probably just start cutting into that just to give us more access. Now, another item of note, okay, here it's on camera, ABS polycarbonate. That means it's a durable plastic. I've already had a go at trying to get into here. This is likely solvent or ultrasonically welded. It's not snap fit construction, or if it is, it's snap fit with glue underneath it, so it's very hard to get into here. But that also means that the plastic does have a good springiness to it, a good impact resistance. It's good material. It's not glass fiber reinforced, but that's fine because the pad pack itself shouldn't take very much abuse. Either way, let's try and bust into this. using these tin snips is actually surprisingly strong plastic. But we're gonna just bust into here like nobody's business. Now, as I get a little closer to this section here, I want to be more careful. Oh no, I should have been more careful at the start because these are the two terminals with the voltage on them. Oops. Oh well, pay no attention. I'm totally going to remember to edit that out, right? And that is just plastic, so that's garbage. Now let's see if I can peel back, starting from the terminals for the... Oh, there we go. Yep. Cracked it open. That makes it easier. Let's get a plastic spudger from our collection of spudgers. Let's try using the green one. Hey, there we go. Alright, so we have a part number here, H017-013-169, nice, -1. Lithium battery, best before July of 21. As I'm filming it, it's Jan 21, so there's actually some life left on these batteries. They've probably certified it such that they don't want to have the batteries expire prematurely, so they probably just derate them. Plus, these batteries are constantly drawn on for a very short period of time. The defibrillator boots up, does a self-check, and then powers back off without charging the capacitor. We've got two wires here on screw terminals to these gold terminals for the pad pack itself. And actually, I'm going to clean some of this debris up first. Also, just taking a second to appreciate that the wires are super fine. I'm getting debris of lots of fine little strands of wire. Either way, let's spudger this battery out. Yep. Alright. Just some double-sided adhesive tape. And two screw terminals. It's kind of curious because how do you tighten those screws without being able to get a screwdriver in here? You must have a like a ball head to squeeze into here and be able to tighten them. Either way, I'm going to snip these off and tape off the positive. So let's do that first. Now I'm only going to cut one wire at once because you don't want to cut both and short the two together using your wire cutters. The wire for the battery itself is nothing spectacular. We just really do not want to short circuit. And I'm going to tape that one off just for good measure as I drop more stuff. What am I, Linus from Linus Tech Tips? Alright, put some of this away, I don't need it anymore. Okay, so we've got CR123As, like we expected. Let's ever so carefully snip the heat shrink wrap. See if we can't dig further into this. What brand is this? Because it doesn't say on the outside. Power One Lithium. Alright, there's the plastic heat shrink wrap gone. Let's see what we have. We have 6 cells in series with some hot melt glue in between. Just based on the color, this actually looks like the good stuff. This is a polyimide glue. Polyimide might sound familiar because it's actually the polymer behind Kapton. You can get polyimide hot melt glues that are high adhesion, which definitely helps when you have low surface energy plastics, for instance. Very smooth plastics with very few polar groups for the glue to form bonds with. Either way, we've got one cell here on top that is just, I guess, adhesive taped on. You've got a fiberboard insulator custom cut to the shape of the cells for 4 of them. So this cell is just in series like the rest of them. It's just folded over for compactness in the shape. I am, however, going to snip this one off and see about ripping the welds off of these and salvaging them. Let's take a look at the voltage, though. And I've got a new-ish CR123. I don't think I've actually used it in any flashlights, but if I have, maybe the voltage is a little low. Let's prop this up so that you, the viewer, can see. .140 volts, nominal. 3.14. That's interesting. I just noticed that the first cell in the series here is doubled back upon itself. There's a component underneath this heat shrink between these 2 cells. It could be a thermal fuse. It could be a one-off, like just an actual fuse that if it blows, it's done for good. But yeah, let's take a look at the other cell voltages, see where we're at. 3.112. Let's just go negative. 3.1, 3.1, 3.1. I'll have to take a look at what the discharge curves are like on these. It could be that those are quite discharged. I did charge up the capacitor in the AED quite a few times, but I suspect that they build this with quite a contingency because they say replace that after 1 use, mainly because the pads have been opened up and they're exposed to the environment, bacteria, everything else. Oh, let's not forget to measure this guy as well. 3.114. Those batteries probably still have a good life in them. I'm going to probably rip the battery tabs off and put them to a second life inside some flashlights. Alright, I've got 6 salvaged CR123 cells. Free is free, right? Bit of cleanup first. Alright, so apparently I nicked myself on one of those nickel strips. If it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger, or it leaves you with long-standing emotional scars, like 2020 in a nutshell. I'm going to deal with that. Okay, that bleeding will stop itself eventually. Let's try and get in here with a angled head Allen key. Indeed we can. Let's take a look at these screws. These appear to be M3s. Nothing spectacularly special, these are just regular ring terminals. The terminals themselves, however, do seem to just pop right out. So these are separately machined pieces that do insert into the housing. The housing is nothing spectacular, it's just a piece of injection molded plastic. What I am finding interesting, though, is this sticker right here, use until date. This is the expiration date on the back of the pad pack itself, October of 2020. And it has a lot number on it. So my suspicion is they manufacture this component as a unit, but they leave the plate over here off. And then just before it goes out the door, they take a battery pack that's fresh enough, slap it in, well, put the screws in, slap it in there, solvent weld it all the way around, and that way they know that a battery with sufficient life goes out with a pad, or a set of pads with sufficient life. Otherwise, you end up with scenarios where potentially the battery has plenty of life, where the pads are about to expire, or vice versa. You would have two different sets of components. One has one shelf life, the other has another shelf life. So unless you assemble them together and take the shortest shelf life, you may end up with a bad component on the shelf in storage. These are interesting terminals, so I'm actually going to salvage and save these and just put them in a bin. You never know when you might need a just a useful gold terminal. But I think beyond that, I've taken it to bits and there's nothing spectacular here. I am finding that the super thin wires are actually fragmenting into lots of tiny little shards on this bench and getting stuck in my hands. So I'm going to call that garbage, that done, and I've taken this to bits. There's no more teardown because it's literally fully torn down. Last thing I want to do though is check if those batteries still work. I've got my Streamlight TLR1 HL. This is not a repro, this is a genuine one. And I'm going to spare you the strobe mode, but the strobe mode does work. And we're just going to swap in some batteries and see if it works. It should. If I can remember how to get this thing open. And then remember which way the batteries go. Negative goes that way. Positive goes that way. I'm going to put this... I always hate getting this on. Yep. Sure enough, it works. So I seem to have gotten a bunch of free CR123s. They have enough shelf life left. I can use them for airsoft and it'll be right as rain. Save a couple batteries from the dumpster, though I'm probably going to want to double check and make sure that there's no exposed casing, because that is part of the negative terminal. It would be bad if I shorted out inside the flashlight. I think that's it for this video. So if you like the video, please like, subscribe, comment, hit that notification bell, because that's how the algorithm works, and leave a message in the comments if you have done similar teardowns on these defibrillator batteries. They all seem to share a common heritage of these CR123 primary cells. They have a good shelf life and not much more to them. Otherwise, peace out. Based on other videos, I suspect this is going to contain some CR123 cells. These are lithium primary cells that do not look like this. These are 18650s. These are also 18650s. Those are also 18650s. Those are 18. What the hell?